Hey, have you ever thought about how limiting beliefs might hold you back in certain areas of your life? There have been a lot of folks who overcame setbacks and difficulties and hardships and went on to accomplish some great things. I'm thinking of folks like Helen Keller, who was blind but went on to be a motivational speaker, or Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned all those years and yet he rose above that circumstantial message that he got and went on to become president in South Africa. And there are a lot of other people that could have been held back because of limiting beliefs that might have been imposed on them by their circumstances, but they chose not to. I've thought about my own life and the limiting beliefs that I've had, and I've wondered, in what ways might I have been held back in life? One came to my mind, and it sounds silly. It's really not an important thing, but it's real. And that is the belief, and it is a limiting belief, the belief that I am not mechanical or that I can't do anything when it comes to repair or building things, whether it's carpentry or mechanics or anything like that. I've always had this limiting belief in my brain that I just can't do it. I don't know where it came from, really. Well, I think maybe I do, actually. My dad was very good with woodwork. He would build furniture, and he was handy in the shop. He had a shop out behind the house, and he did a lot of things out there that were quite impressive. His brother was the same way. But I didn't get that gene. Well, maybe I got the gene. Because as I'm thinking about it, I said, I think I might know why. My dad would always, every time I'd go into his shop out back, he'd say, be careful, don't touch this, be careful about that. And then some of you can relate to this. I love my dad. He's in heaven now. But if I'd ever try to help him do something in the shop, it would be, no, not like that. And I got this message. I know he didn't mean to send it, but I got this message that basically said, Steve, what is wrong with you? You can't do that kind of stuff. And so you don't know what you're doing. And so I just kind of developed that mindset that I don't know how to do things when it comes to building or repairs or anything like that. I'll never forget one time. I was in probably my early 40s. And I came home. I'd been at the office all day. And I came home and my wife had gone to Home Depot. She had bought a sink and brought that sucker home. And in the time I had been gone during the day, one day, she had taken the old sink out and put the new sink in. And there I come home to a brand new kitchen sink in my countertop there. And I looked at that and I said, what happened? Where'd that come from? And she said, oh, I went to Home Depot and got a sink, put it in. You know, that was a day that I'm glad I was secure with my masculinity in other ways, because that would have brought me down to the core if I hadn't been. But it only reaffirmed to me, see there, even your wife can do something like that. It's a limiting belief. I'm not an ignorant man. Well, I guess we're all ignorant in some areas, but I'm not an unintelligent man. I have the ability to learn, but I just never got it. What things hold you back in life? I wonder what would happen if we believed the truth that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I want you to just take a few moments, pause and sit in silence and ask the wonderful counselor who lives in you to give you the answer to this question. What are the limiting beliefs that I have that might be holding me back in life? I mean, I can't help but wonder what great accomplishments have not been done in this world for the simple reason that people fail to recognize their potential. Paul, who wrote more than half the New Testament, the apostle, he said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I think there's no doubt about it. Our capability is far above and beyond what we put into practice. I was talking to a friend of mine one time who had written a novel, and it was a good novel. And I said to the guy, I said, man, that is very good. He said, why don't you write fiction? Well, you know, I've written 17 books, but all of them are nonfiction. And I said, writing fiction, I can't do that. I had somebody another time tell me, well, you're a writer. I said, well, that's like saying you're a musician. I mean, you can play the piano. Why can't you play the guitar? I mean, it's two different things. But anyway, I said to this guy, I said, I can't write fiction. And he said, oh, really? He said, I wonder if you were to ask the Spirit in you to give you the ability and to empower you to write fiction, what you could do. And I tell you what, it hit. It struck me. I still haven't written a fiction book, but I have to say that message struck me when he spoke it to me. And I realized in that moment, he's right. How many ways do we limit ourselves? What is it that's in your heart to do? And maybe you don't know what's in your heart to do because, again, the limiting beliefs that you've held have not allowed you to dream or imagine. But I want you to ask the one who lives in you to show you what your limiting beliefs might be. And then I encourage you to ask yourself, if I had all the ability in the world, what would I want to do? Now, obviously, you don't just charge out and try to start a company or something like that without counsel and preparation and all those kinds of things. I'm not talking about being impulsive. I don't mean that. But I do mean that we need to move past this kind of paralysis that a lot of us have had based on the wrong-headedness about our abilities. And we need to ask ourselves, what might I do? What might I be able to accomplish? Do you want to write a book? Well, start writing. Do you want to learn some sort of skill? Well, start learning it. What is it that you want to do? It would be exciting to rise up and see what we can do when we move past those limiting beliefs and just launch out in faith. Hey, I want to ask you this. If you've had this happen in your own life, and if there is something that you used to believe you could not do, but the day came when you chose to step forward and boldly go to that place and attempt it, and you succeeded, tell us in the comments, what limiting belief have you overcome and that now you are glad you did because of the fruit that it brought to your own life and maybe to the lives of others. You can do what's in your heart to do by the divine power that possesses and empowers you. Well, I hope this will encourage you to get off the mark and start going forward in your journey to accomplish great things. I'll see you next time.